Hello, Lagos. Hello, Nigeria. Hello, planet Earth. It's yet another wonderful session of this series that we've embarked on for quite some time now, She World. And today we're going to be speaking to a woman who's doing pretty well in the corporate world. And I dare say she's really had quite the experience so far and definitely still garnering up a lot. So we're going to be looking at her experience so far, her lifestyle, just a lot of things. Maybe she'll tell us some more. I might not ask her, depending on how well she's willing to reveal. And I'm talking about another person that the chief marketing and communication officer at Coronation, Mrs. Ngozi Akinyele.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for accepting to do this with us. It's really a pleasure to have you on our show.
Sure.
Yes. So of course, my name is Obi. You might know, a lot of people do know this, and it's really a lot I want to know about you. But I want us to start off by getting to know your family life, what it's like, the AK Nation. Tell us about what that's like.
Well, I didn't just emerge in AK Nation. I came out of a family. So
Yeah.
I'm from a family of 5 women
Okay. Wow. Amazing.
and a man. So yes, we're God bless my parents with 5 girls and a boy. He's the last.
Okay.
And so I kind of always grew up around women, and my sisters are my best friends till today, till tomorrow, like we say. And of course, now I've also been blessed with 3 daughters of my own. I have a teen, I have a twin, and a toddler, and it's interesting raising them. Well, that's it.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So I want to digress a little bit because I was very concerned when I saw a video on your Instagram from Christmas last year. Yes, the AK Nation Orchestra. So I was wondering why your youngest daughter, Dunsin, wasn't, even if it's the triangle she could have been playing, why wasn't she in that video?
Well, Dunsin is interesting in the sense that she has a mind of her own.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she often looks for things that are not instruments to play. She likes to play on the chairs, she likes to play on the walls. But I think it almost reminds me that I've had a desire myself to be around music. Even though I'm in the corporate world today, but it's interesting because should I say this? But yeah, I had a not so corporate track into what I'm doing now.
Okay.
So in school, I was in University of Lagos and I did modeling, I did voiceovers, modeling, yes. Yeah. I did all sorts of things just to be independent. I think I always wanted to be independent. And in the midst of that, I dabbled into doing voiceover for ads and everything. Also did some, TV commercials and all. But of course, I've never played anything apart from percussion instruments, shekere and tambourine. But my kids, I almost like projected my desires on my kids. My husband plays the grand piano. He grew up Anglican and plays grand piano. My daughters play the piano and the violin, my older daughter. So maybe sometime Dunsin will find her instrument and I will find mine too.
Well, that's nice. That's really sweet. So, if you probably need to ask, before we get into, of course, you being a professional in your career, why exactly did you not purchase? Because pursue, a life in performing arts at your age. Because I know you're very big on arts. You love arts. So why exactly? Because with all you've said, you've really been into music, you've been doing voiceovers.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw how my eyes were when you said that, because I am very into that as well. So why didn't you?
So I think that it's one of the blessings of being multi-talented.
Okay.
I've always been multi-talented. I was that way from like a young age. I even have sports. I ran all the way. Even I was still running 4x1 up until my later years in school. Actually,
you look like a Gen Z.
So yeah, I've had the kinetic part of myself, the arts, and it's almost like I am right brain, left brain. I've always had those parts. So the point at which I was at a crossroads, I would say, is finishing school. I was doing all of that, like doing all the acting all while in school.
Wow.
But my parents basically said, make sure it doesn't affect your grades. You have a goal, with your academics, and So far nothing affects your grades, you can continue to pursue that. So my goal was not to collect a dime from my parents in my final year, and I achieved it with all of the hustling I was doing. And that for me was, I felt like maybe that kind of brought me full circle. I had achieved that. And then when it was time to decide a career path, I got into consulting. So it's either I went into acting, or voiceovers on all, or I pursued a career in consulting. And I think at that time, it just became clear that maybe I should pursue a career and then come back. And it's interesting because speaking about full circle moments, I wasn't always in marketing and communications. I went into consulting, I was in strategy, I was an analyst, I was working and all. And somehow serendipitously, I started working closely with the marketing and communications department at my former place of work, ran a couple of projects, and then they said, we think you have a knack for this thing. Why don't you, come and do it full time? And I find that my role today brings me back, to tap into some of my natural talents. Whether I'm shooting a commercial or I'm listening to something someone has recorded, I find a convergence between my flair, my natural talents and what I do for work. So I think for me, it's the beauty of kind of just trusting the process and following it. So today I don't even see myself as someone who's split into two different parts. I see my work being a melting pot for the things that I love to do and the things that I have to do.
Wow, that's great. So you said that, people basically saw it in you, your marketing side. So, and I know that you have a degree in that. You pursued something in line with a master's degree, if I'm not wrong. I saw it somewhere online.
An advanced, yes. Advanced
so
marketing.
Was that what, motivated you to change, or did you take that course before?
I took that course when I was already in the marketing line. So I'm also somebody who doesn't like to be ill prepared for things.
Okay, makes sense.
So when I was then thrust into the marketing world, I started asking myself, what do I need to do to learn? What do I need to do also to be able to lead effectively? Because I was also I was drafted into the marketing world at a pretty senior level, given my consulting background and all. But I needed to learn the lingo. I needed to be able to really guide this team. And so I had to immerse myself. My personal learning journey was relentless. I had to keep on picking up stuff. So of course, all of that is formal, but all the informal learning as well, immersing myself in the industry is what I would say what I had to do to be able to lead.
Okay, great. Well, since we've already started talking about, your experience in the corporate world, I want you to take us through how it all got to this point. You're saying you started in consulting, and now you are the chief marketing and communication officer of Coronation. How did that trajectory, how did it just take a course?
So, okay.
I'm sure it's a lot.
It is, but I would just say maybe three things. First of all was that I always just looked at what was in front of me and wanted to excel at that. So before I joined Coronation, I was at Union Bank, and I think I occupied about 3-4 roles in that time, because people would see you and say, I think you can do this. And I think I was also blessed with people who were constantly looking at what I could do and how I could add value. And I was always someone who was open to taking those opportunities. Someone says, I think you can add this to your role. Why don't you come do it? And I'll be like, okay, let's go do it. So just focusing on what is in front of me, the task in front of me, the opportunities in front of me, and then seizing them was important. The second thing, which I've kind of alluded to, is also being blessed with people around you, who see your potential and who are willing to give you those opportunities when they know you're not going to let them down. It's true, because you have people who are banging the table saying, if I promote her into this position and give her more responsibility, she would not crack, she would not break, and you have to look back at this plan and say, I'm not going to let you down, and really not let them down. The third thing I would say is that you have to learn. You have to be open to learning, because with every opportunity, whether it was transiting from core, consulting, and all, to becoming an internal consultant and then going into marketing. So in marketing, I've done brand, I've done events, I've done digital. Now, I'm kind of in marketing. And also I've done banking, Now I'm in insurance, in capital markets, still in banking, in different aspects of banking. In all of that period, there's a lot of learning that is involved, especially when you are leading teams. You have to be able to lead wisely, so you have to immerse yourself, in learning. So I would say, first of all, the opportunities, taking the opportunities in front of you, being blessed with people around me who kind of saw where I was going and could help me. And then myself, tasking myself to learn and to grow with every single role.
Okay, that's really beautiful to be honest. To think of, and I'm even wondering. You say it just keeps getting better and better, and then you just get one new. Somebody just comes and said, "Yeah, you should add this as you've been here." Somebody comes and say, maybe add this to your
Yeah.
to get like to advance your
Right.
current position.
Yeah.
Maybe like being the MD or taking over the entire coronation or something. I don't know how it's because what I'm trying to say because you've mentioned how you started and people around you have been very supportive and they're seeing
Yeah.
so much more in you.
Yeah.
So as you're here, is there anybody that has already started to see more like just
Of course, I'm surrounded by people who are like that, and it's almost like this for me. It almost feels like a eureka moment because now that I think about it, this has been like my story. This has been my story. I was okay. I didn't actually tell you about my foray into the performing artist world and everything.
Yeah.
I was, where did it start? Okay, so a friend of mine was going to record. I was in school and she was going to record, she was going to record a jingle.
Okay.
And she said, the person who was going to sing the part for, is not around. Why don't you come along with me? And I went with her. It was one studio near University of Lagos, and then we sang. The brand manager who was supervising the jingle at the time said, I'm recording my album. Why don't you come next week, to sing alt? Wow. I sing alt in choir. Okay. So he was like, come and sing, I'll teach you and all. And she was also going, the person I came with was going to sing as well. She said, let's go together next week. And then I went there and I sang it. And then he said, come the next week to my office to pick up your check, for this work. And I went to the office and then there was an audition going on. Yes, wow. for an ad at the time, there was an audition going on. And someone said, did you come for the audition? And I said, no, I didn't. He said, why didn't you just go in front of the camera?
Wow.
And that was how I got my first billboard job. Wow. And then from then on, yes, we were actually recording. So we're shooting that commercial. And then the person who was shooting, also had an audition for a film. Yeah, for a short film. So this is like 4 layers now of serendipitous moments in the space of less than 3 months. So that's how I went from voiceover to modeling to, and then of course that then came along being in the world of ushering and all.
Okay.
So yeah, I think whether I planned it or not, I've just had that story of people constantly looking out to say, I think you can do this. And me being, well, humbly, maybe prepared in some way. And even when I'm not prepared, I go back and I don't sleep until I'm prepared by the next morning or by the next, whenever I'm supposed to show up and do the work. So yeah, I would say whatever maybe might be your story, maybe you want to sit down and tease out and say this is what is going for me and hone into it or something. But I think that has really been my path, always being blessed with people around me who can take me to the next, open the next door for me.
Wow, I dare say, other people might still be looking for their story. Grace definitely is your story.
Yes.
Like also grace to grace. And that's just really wonderful and it's really good to hear. So I just want to now, of course, move back into your experience in the corporate world. I believe that, there's this saying that nothing good comes easy. And regardless of how it seems like that's not really your case because, wow. But then I believe that, there's been challenges that you've probably experienced here and there and probably a lot, especially getting to this point. So I just want you to take me through maybe one that stood out the most. Maybe it was the most recurring, the longest lasting one, the toughest one, and maybe you've overcome it. How was that experience like? It's probably a lot.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out which. So I think that one of the challenges that I've faced constantly must really be dealing with people. So my experience has, and as you say, it might feel easy, but it's never easy coming into a new world where maybe you are put in a higher position than those who have been there before. Yeah, or told to get in front of a line when people have been on the line before. And I think that's the challenge with being someone who's, favored, or graced in that way. The fact that at the end of the day, I found that as I've grown, nothing is an individual effort. So even if you're placed at the top of the team, you need the team to succeed. So how do you turn back and make the doubting Thomases believers? How do you turn back and make people who are naturally supposed to be your detractors based on your journey become your allies, become your supporters, become your advocates?
Okay, yeah.
And that is a constant, challenge. And one of the lessons I've learned from that is that you have to listen to people. You have to listen to people. When you get into an environment, understand what is this person actually, looking for in their lives at this point. In the corporate world, I think that's something that many people don't really pay attention to. You come into a team and there are 27 people on the team. They are pursuing 27 different things. Don't deceive yourself and think that they're all working towards your goal. They are in different positions in their lives. Some of them have been in the organization for 8 years, haven't been promoted or something, and that's not my case here. But I'm just saying that people are in different parts of their journeys, and you just have to take the time to listen to them, to understand how you can support them. And when they see that you are genuinely interested in their growth, when they see that you're genuinely interested in making their lives better, I think they open up their hearts, they open up their minds, and they're able to cooperate with you and work along with you to achieve your goals. Without that, I don't think you would ever connect with, especially within the kind of work that we do. You need people to be invested, body, soul, and mind, everything into it. So that, I think, is a constant challenge, and you just have to humble yourself to surmount it. Because, I mean, unless you have a magic potion to spray on people to get them to work in line, but you have to work with people to achieve lasting results.
Okay, that's good. That's really good. So I want to know, would you say it's mostly been maybe, have you had an experience where someone was so challenging that you just kept trying, and you got to the point just like, you know what, thank you so much.
Have I had to fire anybody before?
Exactly.
No, I've not had to fire anybody before.
Okay.
I haven't had to fire anybody in my corporate work. But funny enough, my daughter was just asking me yesterday about a housekeeper that we had at some point, and she was like, how did she go? And I said, well, we parted ways. And she was like, did you just tell her you were fired? And I said, no, that I gave her a month's notice, and I knew the things she had always said she wanted to do. And quite frankly, I think she was being distracted by those things that she really wanted to do. So, it was just like at the start of the year, I just told her, you know what, I think this is something that you really, really want to pursue. And I think that it is time. And she was like, yeah, I think so too. I think it's the time for me to go and focus on this thing. And so it was very mutual. It was okay. Within 1 month, figure out, how you get started with that thing you want to do. How else I can help you, do let me know. But in 1 month, I will find somebody else and take over. Who will take over from your work.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting. So, but I'm happy you kind of mentioned your daughter, and I'm really wondering. I see that you're someone who's big on family.
Oh, absolutely.
And if I was to guess, I would say you have a really good work-life balance.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I kind of integrate my work with my life.
Okay.
I don't strive to balance it, because I feel like the balancing act doesn't work. But I just try to integrate as much as possible to love my work, and then have the people around me understand and educate them, orient them around my work and all, and make sure that they don't suffer, and make sure that I don't miss their big days.
Okay. So do you ever have maybe moments where your kids probably come to work with you, or just like for the sake of it?
They've come a couple of times. But even more importantly, I think I've made sure that when I have to, as much as possible, I prioritize being with them. So, I mean, very practically, my older daughter is on midterm now,
Okay.
and I made sure that yesterday I worked from home, so that I could, spend some time with her, chit chatting. Even though I was in my study, she would pop in and say, hi, okay, this thing, and then she'll talk to me about boys and all.
Yeah. Is that time?
Yeah, she even asked me about her dad, very interestingly. Yeah, so just practical ways where you just make sure that your family understands. When I was, starting a new job, for example, I would tell them, with a new job, it's different. You're working with people who you have not worked with before.
Yeah.
They don't know your work etiquette. They don't know what you can do, your capabilities and all. It's time to build equity. So they understand when I'm in a new job, I need to stay, I need to invest time to understand the people, understand the work, the priorities and all. So they know that those are peak periods. Once things, kind of stabilize, we kind of go back into a routine and they kind of understand. And I think it's very important for me because I'm raising women who I want to be strong career women or business women. Okay. I want them to understand that life can be great, building a great career. So I need to demonstrate that actively to them.
Okay, so for people who are kind of finding that hard to juggle, life and work, because I'm sure that you kind of have a lot to say that can be of help at the very least, some little advice. So for women who might find it a major struggle, how would you say they should handle it? Finding enough time for work as much as for family, their personal lives as well.
So I would say number one, you're doing okay.
Giving therapists.
Yeah, no, I'm just the reality is that, let me just tell you the truth. How I was emotionally balanced and all raising my 13-year-old is not the way I am with my 3-year-old. Okay. 10 years after. There are liberties and benefits, if I could use professional terms, that my 3-year-old has now, that even my 13-year-old is like, mommy, this is not the way that I was raised. Because why? God has blessed me, I have more resources now. Okay, yeah. I can get more help. I have more flexibility around my time. I'm higher up the career ladder. That's just the reality. Yeah. Do I then feel like I didn't do right by my 13-year-old? No, I did my best at that time. Yeah. And now with my 3-year-old, I'm doing my best as well. So I think just level setting that right now in this moment, if you are doing your best, then your best, is enough. But then how then do you grow? How do you balance things? I've always told myself there are some things that you should have as your mandatories, within your children's lives. Be there for them on their big days. Be there for them. Like, the sacrifice for you is that when you get back from work, like till tomorrow, I still go and pick up, their books and say, what did they write in their communication books? I don't want to be that parent who didn't know that they told them to bring something, tomorrow to wear costumes. Like today is costume day, actually, to wear costumes. And yesterday I had to close, when I worked from home yesterday, but I had to take time off and I told my driver, we have to go buy costumes because tomorrow is costume day. Like that was a sacrifice because I could have stayed home, and dressed them up anyway, but I said, on their big day is a costume day. Do I want them to show up without costumes? No. And I say, God, please help me. Give me the time to buy. So the first thing is, understanding that balance is where you find it and be great with that. But constantly find ways to be there on very important days and important times for them. People talk about your support system, and that for me has been, a game changer. My husband is my number one support system. God has also blessed him with a career where he's also, up the ladder, and he's also more flexible with his time. So when I have crunch days at work, I have exco, I have board meetings, and my children have to be taken to the hospital, he can be there. Sometimes it's my mother. So rely on those people within your life. And then when it comes to balance as well, I think that people should also find perspective in where do I want these children to be? I think we focus a lot in today. The diapers are not all arranged, but where do I want them to be tomorrow? So if I don't think about tomorrow, I may, decide that I want to take time off work and just be with my children. but I think about what I want them to be tomorrow.
Okay.
I want them to see how you can excel at work and in life. So I don't want them to feel like, oh, my mother took off 10 years to raise me, so it's not possible. I want them to see I want them to see infinite possibilities with their lives. I want them to see me loving travel. I want them to see me loving sports, loving my work, and see that this is possible, So being that template for them, or being that, at least to some extent, a mentor for them as their first mentors, I think is super, super important. When you think about, think about picture of tomorrow, it would help guide your decisions today. You won't beat yourself up too much about the sacrifices you need to make, because you're building your life, you're fulfilling your dreams, but you're also, creating a picture for them, that they would admire and want to be like.
Wow, that's really amazing. I saw your trophy of world's best wife, and I was like,
oh my god,
that really speaks volumes about the kind of relationship you have with your husband. And I'm now guessing maybe there's one at home for us, world's best mom, because of what you said. And I can definitely agree with what I'm thinking about that. So that's really wonderful. And I'm sure a lot of people would take a lot from what you said, because a lot of people find that very challenging, finding a way, depending on what they do anyway, will find it very hard to balance having time for, and interestingly, people that work in banks.
Okay.
So that's why, I believe you've had, although it's different because of the level you've attained, but at the same time, there's still, like you mentioned, there's other people in your family, your mom also comes into play. And, as much as you can, the resources that are available to you, make sure that you can implement it in raising your children and having a wonderful personal life. So that's really great to hear. So also now talking about getting back into the corporate world for young women that are probably hoping to get into the corporate world, have a successful career. I'm sure there are certain things that you, so far in all the years that you've been in this, you're like, I could confidently do this, but some things I'm gonna try and all that, some do's and don'ts basically. So I just want you to tell us some of the things that you suggest to a lady who is trying to excel in the corporate world. What are the do's and don'ts that you should do and things to look out for?
Yeah. The first thing I would say is don't be shallow. Don't be a shallow person. I don't know a nicer way to say it, but do the work. Immerse yourself. I find that, it's almost like, just like how some women don't give a firm handshake, and they just put their hands. I hate that thing. Don't be like that in life, Go at it, like, give it a firm grasp. Whatever it is that you're doing, if you are in tech, be there 100%. Whoever it is that is your North Star in terms of success, this person has done this and done that. Don't tell yourself, I'm a woman and I can't dedicate myself to this, because hey, in the 8 billion plus people that we have in this world, I'm sure you will find a woman who is able to straddle the things that you do. So tell yourself, I will be the one who doesn't give myself excuses, about why I shouldn't do things, and let me be the one who does things. Immerse yourself, learn, and grow. Never make excuses for why you're not learning or growing. I think it's absolutely important. Second is, I would say, talk to people. Don't be an isolated person. I find that young women also, sometimes they get into an organization and maybe they only talk to themselves. And sometimes I have to peel them away from each other. I'm like, this guy, who got a better performance appraisal than you did last year, have you studied him? Have you asked him what courses he's taking? Have you looked at him and how he relates with seniors? Like, observe, don't be isolated, observe, and grow. And then pursue as many talents as you have. I'm one of those people who says, you can be a jack of many things, Focus is important, but there are opportunities, they come your way sometimes. Do things on the side, it's fine, explore, be curious, keep learning. Don't ever box yourself and say, because I'm on the digital marketing desk, I wouldn't know PR. That's what I mean by doing many things. So look at your profession, think about different areas. You don't even know the things you find interesting. I find many people don't even know. Explore different
Yeah.
aspects within your work. See what the person does. Be curious. Okay, how did you make that creative? Design, people that do design, or people that do, they don't have two heads. Sometimes it's just immersing yourself, and don't deceive yourself that you don't have the time, because you will always make time for the things that you prioritize. Those are some of the do's. Some of the don'ts. I've said don't be isolated,
Yes, you
right?
said
Don't be
that.
isolated. Let me see, young people, the kinds of things I talk about. Don't dress shabbily.
Yes.
Don't dress shabbily. Spend your money wisely. Look at the dress code. I find that some women come into organizations as well. Maybe look at the people who you also want to, be addressed as. Don't dress shabbily. Show up well, and look like somebody who looks the part, as much as possible. I'm not saying break the bank. I'm not saying do illegal things to make money, but prioritize your looking the part. I think it's very important to present yourself that way. Yeah.
Okay. I also want to know, is there any woman that, growing up, that she was just amazing to you, like a role model that you really looked up to and she kind of inspired a lot of things that you do or maybe wanted to get into and probably still looking to get into?
Has to be my mother.
Oh, sweet.
It has to be my mother. My mother retired as deputy director in National Insurance Commission. She was a career woman all the way. So when I think about, the sacrifices I need to make and how my mother made sacrifices. I wish there was, sacrifices upon sacrifices to raise us, and excelled in her career. She was and is a math guru, very mathematical in everything. My mother could read sections of the four-figure table.
Wow.
She still does. She still remembers birthdays from years, from people who have even long gone.
Wow.
Yes, and I'm actually her namesake. Yeah,
Nice.
so I love her very much. She is my role model. Role model. Maybe she's the one who makes me want to be one for my daughters as well. Thinking about it, but yes, she's very much who I looked up to early in life, and even with the sacrifices she still makes today, I'm endeared to her. She's how she was able to be there and how she is there for me today. She's like my rock.
All right, so just as we begin to wrap this up, I wanted to mostly talk about from here. This year's International Women's Day, the theme is basically bordering around taking swift actions to promote gender equality. And we know that this is a conversation that I don't know when we'll wrap it up. Maybe at the end of time, so we'll still be active. But I want you to, probably certain steps that you think we need to take as a people, maybe in the corporate world, as a country, as a nation, that can give women more of a chance, that doesn't necessarily limit women as we see it now. What are these steps that you feel that are necessary?
I think start with where you are. Start with where you are. I'll tell you something. Yesterday, I told you about the costume day, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so I went to the costume shop and my 3-year-old pointed at the Spider-Man costume and said that's what she wanted.
Spider-Woman.
So it said Spider-Man. And then the lady who was manning the shop said, no, that's for boys. And she said, I want to be Spider-Man.
There's one Spider-Woman in the Spider-Verse. So.
Yeah, and then we started looking through the rack for superhero costumes that are female characters, and all we could wind up with was Little Red Riding Hood, who was actually eaten by the wolf, by the way, And I was like, oh my God, this is a teachable moment right here. My daughter is 3-year-old, doesn't yet have any barriers, doesn't yet have any constructs about what superhero she can be or not, and really wants to be Spider-Man. So start with where you are. Sometimes it is yourself, sometimes it is the people within your environment who you start kind of, clearing off these cobwebs, in their minds. So today, in my position, I have my daughters, I have the people who are women on my team, I have people who are in my organization who may not be on my team, people in my church, people within my circle of influence, who I can, every day, tell the lessons that I wish I knew earlier or the lessons I've learned now to help them understand that you can be all you want to be as God has given you the grace and the talent and the opportunity to don't let the opportunities, go by you. So starting where you are, I think is important. I think, of course, within our organizations, we now need to set the structures, in place. Like somebody said, in an organization, when you have a corporate ladder, don't make the women, climb up with stilettos, and then the men with flat shoes. Yeah, basically, there are structures that you need to put in place to be able to help you from the way you bring in women. So you have, for example, a graduate training program.
Okay.
Of course, you should be deliberate about bringing in women into your organization. Those things should be championed at organizational levels where you're definitely not compromising merit, but then ensuring that bring in people within your organization right from the entry level point, and then you support them to grow. And there are various ways we could do that. Mentorship programs, which I am very big on within the organizations that we work in, but also peer-to-peer coaching, mentoring of the people who are on your level, people who are below you as well. I think organizationally, that is important. I think other areas that we can drive equality as well is constantly providing opportunities for women to also gain gain opportunities based on merit. This is what I mean. I would rather invest money in upskilling women than investing money in advocating for women to just be given positions just because they are women, right?
Okay, yeah.
So as a woman, I'm saying find those opportunities. And today, it's amazing how many scholarships and opportunities are available for women. So apply to those scholarships, go through school, go through non-formal school as well, expose yourself, so that on the day of reckoning, on the day when you're put side by side with a man, you're not asking to get the position just because you're a woman, but because you've invested in yourself, you've exposed yourself to the opportunities to learn, and you can now truly merit the position that you're vying for.
Okay, that's really great. Okay, thank you so very much. I just want to ask one last thing. Did your daughter get the Spider-Man costume at the end of the day, or what costume did she end up going with?
Like I said, she ended up with Little Red Riding Hood because she loved the cape.
Okay, so she was happy.
She was happy.
Okay, that's
so the Spider-Man costume, she felt it was making her claustrophobic.
Okay.
I was going to insist that she gets it, but then she put it on. She could not put it over her face because it was making her claustrophobic.
Okay.
But then she loved Little Red Riding Hood because of the cape.
Okay.
So she said, I'm Supergirl or whatever. I'm like, it's Little Red Riding Hood. She was like, no, she's Supergirl. So yeah, in her mind, she went to school as Supergirl today.
That's really sweet. Okay, thank you so very much. This has been a lot to take. I really appreciate you, and I'm sure a lot of people listening have taken note of certain things that will be very applicable in their own personal lives, in their career as well. So thank you, Lagos. This has been another wonderful session of the She World series, and my guest here is Ngozi Akinyele, who happens to be the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer at Coronation. We still have a lot that's going to be coming your way, so make sure to keep it locked on to 91.3. And as it comes, you can be a part of the conversation. From here, it's adios.